So this afternoon's class is about Box Brownie. I have already given this presentation to the agent, so we're going to talk about this from an admin standpoint. I'm going to go ahead and show you what Box Brownie has to offer, show you how to access it and what that account looks like, how easy it is to place orders. Then if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to just raise your hand, throw it in chat, whatever you'd like, or I'll take some Q&A at the end. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. All right. So Box Brownie. Box Brownie is essentially an image enhancement company. So they do all sorts of image enhancements. So this is a good example right here on my screen. It's a before and after. They may take a picture of a home that might not be very bright, maybe a cloudy day, something like that, and they might brighten it, add a different sky to it. They do those really dramatic day to dusk photos that you're often seeing in the MLS. They do a fair amount of virtual staging. Our agents are probably using that more than anything else right now. They also do some item removal, floor plans, and things like that. So we'll go ahead and get into all the different products, and that way you can see what it looks like. In order to access Box Brownie, it is one of our single sign-ons, but it is not located on that main screen in Town Central. So when you land on the dashboard, the tools that are located here on the main are the ones that are used the most. Box Brownie is actually located under the Quick Links tab. This is where we house everything else, all of our other tools that are not available on that main screen there. If you click on Quick Links, there it is for BB for Box Brownie. It is one of our single sign-on tools. So every single agent, every single person has a username and password built into the system right on through. Just go ahead and click it. Nothing is required. It'll go ahead and log you into the system. I am already logged in just for the sake of time and so that I had an example. So I will show you that in just a moment. Let me show you what Box Brownie does. And that way we can go into kind of how you can create an order and how easy it is to use the dashboard. So as I said, their main things are image enhancements. So I'm going to go to the image enhancement here for residential real estate. Just going to kind of go through those before and afters. My computer thinks I'm in Canada today for some reason, so let me switch to US pricing. There we go. And that way you can see kind of what their services entail. These pricings that you see here are real. This is not a very expensive service. In fact, it's one of the cheaper services on the market right now, especially for things like virtual staging when we get there. But you can actually see that it's a great service and it doesn't cost very much. These are for individual images. So you can see they kind of took this darker photo and they have just given it some more contrast. They've dropped in a different sky, just made it look that much better. I mean, as somebody is scrolling through, Zillow, they're scrolling through Realtor.com, they're scrolling through our website, they're getting property watch notifications from wherever they happen to be searching. There is a big difference between eye-catching from something like this, which is kind of dull and dreary, to something like this, which is really eye-catching. It's the exact same photo. It's the exact same house. It just has that great pop to it. Just to show you some other examples of what they've done, we see this pretty often where you have a room that might be backlit. What they've done is they've been able to take the photo and they've been able to brighten up the room, but then also keep that view that it has, and then drop in a different sky that has some nice contrast to it. Here's one that we see pretty often, especially on the south side, where you may have something, again, where it's our water is really gray. It might be a really gray day. It might be raining. They've been able to take that porch. They've been able to brighten up the whole thing. They've been able to brighten up the water in the sky. I would not recommend that somebody upload something like this into the MLS with water quite that bright from our area, because it does not exist here. We do not live in the Mediterranean. But they can give it a little bit more contrast and just kind of take the gray away from the day. Here's another one that you might see come up fairly often. It might be kind of a loft or an apartment where the windows are on the far side and the room is just dark. They've been able to go ahead and lighten that up for them. Same thing with a bathroom. One of the things I want you to notice here is notice that the camera is right here. And notice that it has been removed here. So not only have they enhanced this image, but they've also done that item removal task that's also available. So they've taken the camera out of the mirror. And again, there's that brighten up, something that was backlit from inside to outside, brightening up and giving more contrast to a photo. And there again, it's just brightening up and contrasting the photo. Notice though that everything that was in that photo still exists. So we know that we can get in trouble with the MLS. We know that we have some issues with ethics if we start adding things that aren't there without disclosing it. So in this case, this wasn't dirt, this was grass. They're just adding a little bit more contrast to it. They're not covering up dirt with grass. It was obviously already there. They're just making it a little bit brighter. We certainly do want to disclose anytime we might add something, and I'll show you what that looks like with those virtual renovations when we get there. Another real popular one, and I know you guys have seen this, and I know some of your agents have had you upload photos that look like this. This is the day to dusk. So it's taking that kind of plain house during the day, it's totally fine, and just bringing it to life at the golden hour, right at that sunset, sunrise time, depending on where the home is. And they're, giving lights to the inside, they're turning the porch lights on, they're just giving it a totally different hue. It's really beautifully contrasted. Same thing for water. They'll do it for a home, really highlighting this feature of this outdoor patio by doing this. We don't have a lot of snow photos, but they're coming this weekend. If you ever lived in a place where you had a lot of snow, like I did at one point in time, that you have to have the need to have a much better sky than something that's gray for about 3 months out of the year. Again, there's just adding that beautiful contrast, turning on the lights inside. There's that day to dusk. I love this one, just kind of featuring the home, featuring the beautiful windows, the warmth, and of course, giving that a nice sunset sky there. We see this pretty often. We do have a lot of pools in our area. Sometimes you get the pools and they come in and they look like they haven't been cleaned in a million years. They're just dark, and it's just because the sky overhead is really gray, or it was just a cloudy day, or it was just the contrast of the way the light looked. They are able to go ahead and give that pool a little bit more life, and of course, add just a little bit more lifestyle to it. And this is probably my favorite. This is a perfectly fine photo. I love this house. We see this kind of photo come in all the time from the agents. They look great. It's a beautiful photo. But this really sells the lifestyle. This is selling the sizzle to the steak. This is a nice house, but this shows the actual lifestyle of actually living here, utilizing the patio. They've added that fire. They've added the warm glow. They've shown what it's like to actually live in the house and have this beautiful exterior in here as well. So again, these photos are totally okay to use, and sometimes you just need this little pop or this little contrast. Probably the number one thing we're seeing Box Brownie being used for right now, just because of their pricing, is virtual staging. Notice the pricing on this for virtual staging here. This whole staging in this room was only $200 or $24. We used to see virtual staging packages come in at like $300 a room. This has really brought the cost down and made it more affordable for everyone. I do want you to notice as we go through this virtual staging as well, that there's lots of different room types and different furniture, different things that treatments that they're going to do to the room. These are all options that are built into the system. So the agent has control over the entire process here. If this agent didn't want this kind of modern look, there is an option to choose something more coastal, something more traditional, whatever it happens to be. Obviously, we would decorate a home that was, a condo in Virginia Beach very differently than we would do a home that was in Ford's Colony in Williamsburg. So even if it was the exact same room layout, we may decorate it a little bit differently for the area, and that is still an option. So you'll notice again, we're just adding furniture here. We've added some artwork on the walls. All of this is rendered. Obviously, none of this is real, but they even get down to things like adding fruit onto the countertop here. Totally different furniture and aesthetic design. This is something we would certainly see in downtown Norfolk, kind of a more masculine but more minimal kind of feel to it. I love this idea here. And this is one of the things that we talk about with the agents, is that sometimes you need to repurpose a room. This is a hot thing right now, especially with so many people working from home. So many people are now remote all the time. They've gone to 100% remote. And you're able to take a room like this, which would normally be used as maybe a breakfast room or a four-season patio kind of feel to it. And you're able to virtually stage it and repurpose it for, in this case, a home office. This is great for an agent who may have a vacant house where they just want to show all the different kinds of things that you can do to a room. Speaking of vacant homes, how many times have you seen this? You've uploaded photos to the MLS And the home has 4 bedrooms and they all look just like this. They're taken from the door. It's just a single corner. You have no idea what kind of depth and scale is in a room. This is a great way for an agent to be able to show the room sizing. So they're able to actually say, okay, this room can support a queen size bed, which is what this is, and a dresser and things like that. So they'll be able to put that in there. When you're looking at this picture here, you don't know if it can take a king, a queen, a twin. You're not entirely sure what that room scale is, and they're able to tell them that. There's that outdoor furniture, so it's not limited to interior. They can also go ahead and decorate a whole patio for you if you needed to. There's that room scale again. This is actually a king size bed. So they were able to say, okay, a king size bed does fit between those 2 windows. Please put a king size bed in there. And then they went ahead and picked out what kind of furniture and design they'd like. And they went ahead and made that to scale. It certainly brings more life to this room, and it certainly gives it, again, more depth and more size. These are great for vacant homes. And again, there's that bedroom again, taken from the door right into a corner. You have no idea how big this room is. Does it only fit a twin size bed across here? You know, is it only big enough to use as a nursery or a home office? No, it's actually big enough to support a fairly large bed and some furniture that goes with it. So they also do item removal. You already saw that a little bit in the mirror shot, but this comes up fairly often. You know, an agent gets a photographer, those photographers are super, super busy. They've done everything they can to prepare that home for sale. They've, you know, given instructions to their sellers, and the seller thinks that they've done a great job getting everything out of their kitchen, and they have not. So they are able to take things off the counters. They're able to take things off shelves, and just give it that kind of clean, open look to really show how much space there is in something. So again, here's another one. This one was obviously a garage that was redone that had some spacing to it. As I'm going through these, though, I want you to know there is a place when you do this order that should say that this home was virtually staged or for illustrated purposes only. When these photos are uploaded to the MLS, they have to be disclosed that they're virtually staged. Have to. So virtual staging and item removal, we do need to actually say and disclose that these photos have been changed. So there's that bathroom again. Maybe they just didn't have time to get this out. I will tell you, probably one of the #1 things we've seen before is somebody actually got the bathroom ready to go, and there was like one thing left in there that needs to be taken out. Maybe the shampoo that was in the corner, and it just completely detracts from the whole photo. So they can go ahead and take that out for them and rebuild that. There's repurposing a room. So this was obviously used as an exercise room at one point in time. It looks like they're in the middle of moving. They've been able to remove all those items. Just as a note, you could actually take this photo that you've asked them to do some item removal on, and you could send it back to them for virtual staging. So you could say, please take all this stuff out of here, but then also take this room and make it a home office. So you can repurpose these photos as well. We've seen this come up before, removing artwork from a thing. We actually had a home that we listed that had a fair amount of nude artwork in it that all had to be removed before the photos went into the MLS. So they are able to take artwork out as well. And again, there's that cleaning up that kitchen. Look at the difference in just the size and scale of that kitchen when everything is removed from up near the ceiling, when you have the stuff that's removed from the counters. You know, they've even removed that spice rack that's temporary. This is not built in, so it's something that can definitely go when the move happens, and that has been taken out. Notice, however, they did not remove that dog door. So those are things that are permanent to that home unless they replace that door, so they're not going to go ahead and take that out of there. And then again, in this case, they're taking out all the furniture. So they went ahead to be able to show, you know, probably more room would be my guess. And they've taken away this furniture that was in here. They do floor plans as well, and it doesn't necessarily have to be from a PDF or architectural drawings. They can take them. So this was obviously a PDF that somebody had. It looks like it came probably from the builder, and they were able to turn it into this kind of 3D rendering to be able to not only show scale, but also use. They can also take drawings. So if an agent has just something that's been drawn out, they can actually do these flat drawings for it if we wanted to go ahead and put floor plans in for whatever reason. We actually use this floor plan for some of our new construction and some of our new homes, just to give some life to the rooms and give some life to the floor plans. While those of us who have been involved in real estate for a long time can probably read floor plans pretty well, you'd be surprised that the general public has a very difficult time visualizing them if they're not used to seeing them. So sometimes we can offer them some ideas about what that floor plan actually looks like if we start to kind of stage it. So here's a good example of that. So here is a floor plan. This is fine. We see this all the time in new homes. We see this all the time in new construction. An agent lists a one-off for a builder somewhere and they have this floor plan that they want uploaded. Instead, they could send something like this. So this is actually going to show that, wow, you can put two big cars in that garage. And here are some use cases for this. So this says study, but this actually shows that there's a desk in there. It can show what size beds fit in there. It can show if there's availability to have extra furniture in there. Notice that these floor plans that I've shown you so far are all different. So in this case, this person who built this one chose this darker wood floor. They chose this type of furniture and they chose this color layout. Just like the furniture and virtual staging, all of these floor plans can also be designed with specific decoration in them. So if you want those nice kind of Scandinavian wood floors, you can pop that in there with kind of a coastal look if you want to. If the builder is going to put in these great honey oak floors and you want a more traditional feel to it, you can certainly tell them that as well. It's all built into the system. So there's that kind of 3D render again. So instead of being flat, they get a kind of a 3D look. I do love this though. If you're dealing with a home that may have difficulty showing scale like this one does, and it may look like this is really kind of a one-car garage. If it actually is large enough, sometimes it's nice to show that it can fit 2 cars in here, if possible, and just visually. They can take something that's even done for outside and from a bad drawing and do it. And again, there's that totally different feel to it. So that lighter floor, different kinds of furniture. Notice that they've kind of even decorated some of this outdoor entertaining space and given some grass into this carpet area to show, and then showed where the garage would be. This is an interesting one here. They actually dropped in a pool. They dropped in all the patio furniture, but I love this. This is obviously a luxury home here, and it's got a 6-car garage. But they were actually able to show that. A lot of times people would miss that there were actually 2 garages in here, and they were actually able to show all the different kinds of cars that you're able to fit into that space along with what the home was. They do things like virtual renovations as well. We have to be very, 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 very careful to disclaim that these have been virtually renovated on the photos. And again, I'm going to show you when we do an order that there is a space to be able to put those disclaimers in there. But this can come in handy. For an agent, maybe they're dealing with an estate sale, for example. We see a lot of these rooms in our area. A lot of the homes in our area were built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. They're kind of those brick ranchers. Not all of them have been upgraded yet. The only thing they did in this virtual renovation on here was basically repaint things. And just added some virtual staging to make it more modern. So this is what this home could look like if it was repainted. If you're dealing with something like an estate where you know that they're not going to do any repairs, or maybe a relocation where they're not doing any repairs or any upgrades at all, this is just a great way to be able to show in the MLS, hey, with just a little bit of paint, this is what this home could look like as well. But again, we have to just make sure we disclaim that this is not real. This is virtually staged and virtually renovated. Here's an interesting case where somebody went ahead and added that pool. We need to be very careful about this again, to basically say that this was virtually rendered, that this is just for illustrative purposes only. You've seen that disclaimer before on a lot of different things. If this pool doesn't exist in this actual spot, but they just want to show that a pool could go there. Or sometimes we have a builder who has plans to put a pool in, but it might be the wrong time of year, like right now when the ground is frozen. But this is what it might look like in the future. That might be a use case for doing something like this. We have seen this more often than not. We have so many media rooms coming on the market right now. And if people have not had an opportunity to take that decoration down, they can actually take all that paint away to be able to show kind of what's underneath everything. It usually wouldn't be quite as wild as this, but we have seen some pretty wild decorations that we need to just show what it would look like if it had a more neutral palette to it. Showing a different closet system. Again, these are all just virtual renovations. Here's obviously a new construction that's not quite finished yet, but they've gone ahead and done the landscaping in here. They've gone ahead and finished out that driveway. Certainly looks great to be able to put this in the MLS versus this, or in addition to this, to be able to say, for illustrative purposes only. On here, but this is what it would give them an idea of what this would look like. Again, for those of us who've been in the real estate industry for a while, we could look at this and visualize this, but for somebody who doesn't deal with homes every single day, it's sometimes nice to be able to give them an illustration of what that would look like so they don't have to use their imagination. In this particular case, they went ahead and removed a wall. I disclaimed the bejesus out of this one to say an agent should not be doing this kind of virtual renovation. unless they have architects and builders behind them on it, because if this was not load bearing and this is what they showed, this could be a very large problem. This was basically taking a patio and repurposing it. So showing a different way to basically stage the patio. They took this out, added a pool instead. And here's a nice opportunity. Again, this is new construction. This looks like an urban loft. And what they did is they went ahead and finished it out, showed what it would look like once it was finished, again, for illustrative purposes only. They do a couple of other things as well. They do 360 virtual tours off photos. I'm not going to go into that today because we do have other products like Matterport for doing something like this. But for those of you who might work with new construction, or might work with agents who are working with other builders, do know that renderings are available in here. And it's always nice to be able to give this option to a builder, especially if they are going against another agent for competition, to basically say they can take the floor plans, they can take the architectural pieces, and they can turn them into renderings. Everything that you're going to see in here is not real. All of this was built from plans. So in this case, this was a rendering of what a bathroom might look like when it's finished. This house is not real. All of this was done from floor plans. Again, not real. This was done from a drawing and floor plans. They were able to show what the kitchen might look like when it's finished. And again, a full-size apartment building here. Again, all of this is rendered. If you've ever seen some of our advertisements for Point Chesapeake on the Bay, our big 5-building shop that we have that looks like it's sitting right on the ocean is actually a rendering that was made similar to this, where it just looks so hyper real that we actually have to disclaim that it's not as well. So again, just showing what it might look like if it was finished. All of these are done, again, from floor plans. None of this is real. All of this is rendered. And again, just putting in those renderings of what something might look like when it's finished. And notice this has the day to dust treatment done to it too. So not only did they render it, but they also applied that day to dust treatment to this as well. So they do things. We've talked about residential real estate, but they do things for commercial real estate. They do obviously the renders. They get a lot fancier than this as well. So it's not just a use case for just residential. They do some commercial. They do certain things for property management, of course. And then they do have a segment, because it's not just used for real estate, for things like online retail, like taking whiteout photos out. And of course, our automotive industry is in here as well. But today we're really going to focus on residential real estate. So when an agent clicks that Box Brownie button here in Town Central, it's going to take them to the Box Brownie dashboard. Okay, so the first time that they log into Box Brownie, they will have most likely some free credits here. And I encourage agents just to go ahead and use them to try it out. That's what they're there for. After we give training, sometimes we put a few extra credits in there. Sometimes if they are launching something new or a new product, they'll also go ahead and put some credits in there for the agent as well. A lot of agents have not signed into Box Brownie yet if they haven't had a need to use it, but do let them know that they do have some potential free credits in there. So in this case, I have 1 free day to dust photo, and I have 3 free image enhancement photos to do. So the layout for the dashboard is pretty easy. This is your main dashboard where you'll choose a job and you'll be able to upload everything into the system. And all your different options are there. All the old jobs are kept under the job category. Any kind of renderings are going to be under the rendering category just because they're so large to download, so they keep them in their own section. They do custom quotes as well. In fact, I just was working with an agent today about this. They wanted to take a group of photos and they wanted to do not only image enhancements on them, but also some data dusk. And then they had some custom things that they wanted to do to it. If somebody has a very large product where they have a lot of photos to do, maybe there's going to be multiple steps involved, image enhancements and data dusk and virtual staging and a 360 or something like that, they can go ahead and put a custom quote in, let them know what they want to do, and they'll be able to, instead of having single one-off pricing on it, maybe give them a price for a project instead. In order to add credits to their account, they do need to buy credits. So it would be basically the amount that they want to spend in here. If they're going to do, 10 photos, they're going to need to add about $20 into their account in order to buy those. And then, of course, receipts and then any preferences they have on here. So it's fairly easy to go ahead and create a new order. I'm going to do one for virtual staging just because it has a bunch of the different options in it, just so you can see what that would look like. So if I click on virtual staging here, again, they've been very upfront about what that cost is going to be. So they're saying it's $24 per photo. And you can give the job a title. So in this case, it could be, 123 Main Street master bedroom. That's the only room we're going to do. Maybe it's just completely vacant and we want to just show what it would look like as if it was virtually staged. So it's going to ask us to upload the photos in here. So we can upload whatever we want. Most of the time it's going to be that JPEG file that's uploaded in here. It's also drag and drop. Remember I said that we have the opportunity to select our furniture style. So there's lots and lots of different options in here that, you know, Scandinavian, urban, farmhouse is so popular right now. Again, they do those commercial spaces if we need it. Something modern, contemporary, Hamptons. This translates really, really well to people who need that kind of coastal feel and coastal look. Hamptons looks just like our coastal. And then, of course, traditional furniture. We see the farmhouse and traditional used for a lot of homes. And then, of course, a lot of our beach homes go with that coastal feel to it. So we're going to go ahead and able to choose that. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my Hamptons. And then it's going to take me through that process of going to do my checkout on here. I'm going to go back to my dashboard here real quick and show you what that image enhancement looks like as well. So again, they're just asking us what we would like to do for image enhancements. This is going to be something nice and simple. Like, do we need to do just a home? We need to give it that contrast and pop. Or are we looking at doing something like that image enhancement that we saw where we need to take that dark room plus that view from outside and make it into one image, that backlit kind of room. So it is a different skill that makes these photos happen. So it might go to a slightly different department. Most of the time, we're just going to be doing those kind of contrast pops so we can start a new job here. So again, giving it a title, we're going to upload our images. And then once we hit next, we're going to just we're going to tell them what kind of edits we'd like to make. So something like, you know, make the sky bluer, make the water a little bit bluer, but don't make it bright blue, something like that. And then we'll go ahead and review the job. They'll go ahead and submit it. And come back and let you know if there's any extra information they need, or if it might cost more because you've asked for more. Maybe somebody has created this job for image enhancement, but they've said, I want a sunset, plus I want the day to dusk, plus I want them to make the landscaping pop that's in here. They might come back and say, okay, this is actually an image enhancement plus a day to dusk, so the cost is not going to be $1.60. The cost may be $5.60 instead. And do you want to proceed? And they can hit okay. Communication with them is fabulous. They do have chat available 24/7. You can also call them 24/7. So the support is global, and they are available 24/7 to be able to help. I've used this before, both professionally and personally for Box Brownie, and I have found their communication to be great. The other nice thing about Box Brownie is if an agent does something and they don't like it, they do have a guarantee. So if they send over maybe a virtual staging and they've chosen coastal and they come back and maybe the seller hates it, it's not what they were looking for, you can actually resubmit this to them and say, I would like to change this virtual staging to farmhouse instead, and it's at no additional cost because they do have a satisfaction guarantee here. We've actually had that happen before where we did a virtual staging on a new construction for a builder, and they put it out there into the world and it just wasn't resonating. We went back about 6 weeks later and said, hey, we'd like to change this up. Instead of being coastal, can you make it contemporary for us? And that way we could kind of push that out into the universe and have a completely different look to see if it just resonated in our advertising a little bit more. And they were happy to do it because, again, they have that satisfaction guarantee. So do know that they are a good service as far as customer service goes, and they do stand behind their product. Did anybody have any questions about Box Brownie? I'm happy to answer them. You can unmute, you can put up your hand, you can throw it in chat. Any questions at all? No questions. Okay. Well, I will let you have your afternoon, and I thank you so much for joining me again for one of our tool classes. I certainly appreciate it. And this is just something to keep in the back of your mind if you see something come in, or if an agent is looking for a little something extra that they can do for their listings, for their sellers, or to win those listings, in fact, that we have this available to them. Thank you so much for coming.